What's up everyone, let's get ready for Ultra League Halloween Cup. There will be no need for scary movies or creepy costumes this Halloween, as just this image should be enough to scare most battlers. This format is absolutely overrun by XL Pokemon and legendaries. So for those of you that don't have a lot of resources out there, maybe stick to Open Great League. There's definitely some budget options out there, which I'll get into later, as well as some budget teams, but the main meta is gonna be either XL or a legendary. The absolute king, or should I say queen of this meta, is Nidoqueen, which is an absolute powerhouse here, just like an Open Ultra, but with even less counters, since there's barely any water or ground types around to hard wall Nidoqueen. Even the Pokemon you'd think should counter Nidoqueen, like some of the Bug Steels, Crobat, the ghost types like Giratina or Jellicent, can take a beating from this thing, especially if you fail in calling a bait. One of the best answers to Nidoqueen will be Genesect Chill, as you can just one-shot the Shadow variant with one Techno Blast, and the regular will take a ton of damage from it too. Every single Genesect will be a powerhouse in this meta, actually, just because a Bug Steel typing is massive in a league with a bunch of Poison and Dark types. But I think the Chill variant will be the best, as it will allow you to one-shot Nidoqueens with that Techno Blast Chill, and also do a bunch of damage versus Giratina, which Giratina will also be like a powerhouse in this meta, so you'll be seeing it everywhere, and having that Chill drive Techno Blast will be huge to hit Giratina for a ton of damage. The safest Pokemon in this meta will probably be the Dark Poison, such as Skuntank, Drapion, Overqwil, and Alolan Muk. The best one probably being Drapion, I'd say. I think it's just the most flexible of the bunch with those quick charging crunches and Aqua Tails, though you could also even consider going with Sludge Bomb instead of Aqua Tail to hit the pure darks for more damage, and to be able to like one-shot Alolan Ninetales too. As far as budget picks go, there's definitely some around you can find by turning off the XL Pokemon. Most of the non-XL powerhouses will be legendaries, such as Genesect Chill or Giratina. These, of course, will still be expensive on the dust because they are legendaries, but at least they don't require you to invest like a ton of XL candies into a Pokemon. And especially Giratina will be extremely good, or is extremely good on Open Ultra as well. So this is definitely an investment worth making, as it will be one of, if not the best Pokemon in the cup. Besides that, Crobat will be a very good Nidoqueen answer, Muk a very good safe Pokemon, just like the other Dark Poisons, and then Scizor and Escavalier, huge powerhouses in the Bug Steel department. So amazing Dark and Poison counters. Gengar is an amazing sweeper in this meta, as long as you can keep it away from the Dark types. This thing can put in a lot of work. And then Incineroar seems like a super interesting core breaker in this meta. Hardest counter for the Bug Steel types with those Fire Fangs. Can still do a lot of work versus ghost types because of its dark typing and the dark pulse, of course. There's also some decent fairies in here like Florges and Sylveon, but I'm not quite sure if I'd recommend you to run any fairies at all, since there will be so many Bug Steel and Poison types around. It might be a bit risky to run any fairy types or charmers in this format. Anyway, let's just head into the team, starting with what I would run if I didn't have many or any XLs at all. This is the budget team. Alola Muk plus Gengar or Giratina plus Scizor or Escavalier, whichever one you have. I think this core of three will work quite well. Alola Muk is just a very safe lead in this meta, really only struggling with Nidoqueen and the Steel Bugs, which the ghosts do very well against. And then you got your own Steel Bugs in the back, since they're just powerhouses. They're very good core breakers in this meta, as long as you can keep them away from ghosts. They'll put in a ton of work, and well, Muk can deal with those ghosts quite well, so they form a solid duo. If you wanted to, you could even double up on ghosts on this team here and run Alola Muk, Gengar, Giratina. Would work fine as well, or even double up on Bug Steels with Muk, Scizor, Escavalier. I think that could work quite fine as well. This team isn't perfect, of course. One of the main issues you'll find is that some of these Pokemon are just going to end up getting outbulked by some of the XLs or legendaries in this meta. Well, except for Giratina, of course, since that's an absolute monster. But like a Gengar and Escavalier can even get chipped down very easily in like neutral or winning matchups just because you are so squishy. So that is a little trouble. This team is gonna take some more finesse to run than like a triple XL team or very bulky team. But overall, it still has a lot of coverage. Main core breakers being probably Incineroar. Kind of depends on what variant of this team you're running as well, since Incineroar versus Giratina is kind of positive for Giratina depending on your moveset. But if you get it versus Gengar or Bucksteel, you're definitely screwed. So Incineroar, definitely a bit of trouble for his team, as well as Mandibuzz. It's really just neutral versus most of these Pokemon, except for Gengar. Mandibuzz, of course, destroys Gengar. But it's so much more bulky that generally this Pokemon will just get clapped by Mandibuzz. Overall though, pretty balanced squad, so I can definitely recommend it if you're strapped for dust. Also a nice bonus is that all of these Pokemon are good on Open Ultra League as well, so if you're making your first Ultra League investments, these are definitely worth it. The next team is based around what's probably the strongest core in this format, Giratina and Nidoqueen. They only really share a weakness to Ice, and there really isn't that much Ice in this format. Besides that, they cover each other almost perfectly. Giratina, of course, mainly loses to Dark types and Fairy types. The Fairies, Nidoqueen just destroys, and most Dark types, Nidoqueen does very well against as well. Then Nidoqueen does quite bad against all of the Bucksteels here, which Giratina generally does quite well against, unless we're talking about Genesect Chill Drive, which can of course be some trouble for this core, but since Genesect has to rely on his charge moves to hit both these Pokemon, and versus Giratina, as single Technoblast Ice doesn't even knock out, this core still has a lot of play versus it. On Giratina, you can also run whatever moves you prefer, by the way. Dragon Claw or Shadow Claw as fast move, and then definitely Dragon Claw as charge move. And then either Ancient Power or Shadow Sneak, I'd say, as charge moves. I don't think you should go Shadow Force here. It's just too expensive. And even though it's better damage dealing than Shadow Sneak, the spammier Shadow Sneak is still nicer, I think. In the back, you can pair it with like basically anything, honestly, but I think the best options are like a really good pivot like Drapion or your own Genesect Ice, because it is so strong in this meta. The next team features a core that you might be familiar with for my Great League Halloween Cup top teams video, Runerigus and Galarian Weezing. And that this core will work just as well in the Ultra League variant as it did in Great League. Runerigus is just an amazing Nidoqueen answer, just the best wall for it really in probably entire game, and definitely this cup. And then Galarian Weezing will cover for Runerigus' weaknesses to the Dark types. I'm putting a Drapion in the middle here, as it's just an amazing pivot in this format and generally can lure out Nidoqueen, which is quite nice because Weezing definitely struggles with Nidoqueen. It's definitely its main issue, but besides that, Weezing has a ton of play everywhere. So if you can manage to lure out a Drapion or the Nidoqueen with your Drapion, get it low, maybe even take a shield from a Nidoqueen, you're putting your Weezing in a very good spot to sweep. Other dark poisons such as Drapion and Skuntank can be a bit of trouble for this team, as Runerigus just loses and Drapion and Weezing are neutral at best, but both Drapion and Weezing do very fine there, so I think you should be able to play around it. Even Runerigus has a little bit of play as well because of Santum, but you definitely shouldn't expect Runerigus to beat them straight up. In this squad, movesets are kind of up to you. On Drapion, I think I would go with Aqua Tail Crunch myself though, just because with Aqua Tail you're better against other dark poisons and Nidoqueen, which it's kind of what you're using your Drapion for on this team. You're pivoting it, so you could probably expect other dark poisons or Nidoqueen to come in, and then Aqua Tail could come in clutch. Also, Shadow probably preferred, but regular would work just fine as well. On Weezing, definitely go with Fairy Wind Overheat Play Rough. I don't think there's any reason for Sludge in this format. The next team is based around Incineroar, which I think is a very interesting pick since you can just completely incinerate those bug steel types. But it also has some weaknesses, which I feel are kind of difficult to build around. It's weak to Pokemon like Toxicroak, Obstagoon, Scrafty, Nidoqueen isn't great, and then Tapu Fini. And these are difficult to cover for in just one or two Pokemon. I found the best pairing with it to be Crobat though, since it can deal with Pokemon like Nidoqueen, Tapu Fini and Toxicroak quite fine. And then in the middle as a pivot, you got either Nidoqueen or Drapion. It's like a double poison line. I think this could work quite nicely. On Incineroar, I'd recommend you run Fire Fang, Dark Pulse, and Flame Charge, though Snarl could definitely be interesting too, just for some quicker charge moves, and in that case you're also better against the Ghost, but I think Fire Fang is just very nice. You just completely destroy, chomp down on those bug steals. The other 3 Pokemon you're just gonna want to run with the standard moveset, and either a Shadow or non-Shadow. I think it's really up to you in this case. Steam definitely isn't perfect. I think Giratina especially could be a bit of trouble, but all Pokemon have play there, so you can definitely play around it. And then Drapion, as basically against every team, can definitely cause some havoc here too. So just gonna have to play around it, but it should be doable. Anyway, that was it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you're gonna run in the Halloween Cup down in the comments below. I'd love to know. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Good luck with your battle trainers.